Jake's pressed the button so we can start. Lee singing. This is a Podful of Saints. Blah, 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 blah. I think I might have to do that intro again, don't you?
Hmm.
A warm welcome to a Podful of Saints on Tuesday, the 2nd of January 2024. Here, I've gone back to the old style intro, haven't we? That's not going to last. That's dull. Right, we've got several things to look at today. Lots of interesting things. And I suspect there might be a favourable result to look back on, judging by the look on Jake Ellicott's face. Evening, Jake.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Hello, everyone. What a happy new year it is. Oh.
It was a happy new year, wasn't it, Lee? Happy new year to you too.
Happy New Year to you, my friend. And look, my resolution is to be nice to you today. So let's see how we get on.
I'll give it to about 6:10. Well, when oh no, it's 6:20 now. Right, okay, we're looking back on the Saints. 3-1 win at Hemel Hempstead, wasn't it? It was 3-1. Well, I counted 2 yellow flares, a blue one against their 1 red one. So it's 3-1 to us. Right. All signs around the ground saying no pyrotechnics were allowed and whatnot. I think everybody had one. Right, the game itself. 3-2 win for the Saints from 2-0 down in 12 minutes. And a good entertaining game. Not so much for Hemel because they were pretty much like we were last week, on the back foot for much of the game and trying to hang on to a lead. But we pressed them and got our reward in the end. Right, we start with the teams. Hemel made 2 changes from Boxing Day. Out went Josh Williams and Bailey Brown, former Saint, who of course came on as a sub in the second half. But it's a City team that raised most eyebrows, particularly amongst City supporters, funny enough. Out went Ryan Blackman and Nathan Carlisle with injury. We don't know the state of play with Nathan. Ryan's had a dead leg after his clash with Josh Hill on Boxing Day. He couldn't walk until yesterday, so he managed to go his first bit of treatment yesterday. Doubtful for Saturday, more chance of a county cup tie next week. Also out, Mitchell Weiss, put that down as fatigue, and Shaun Jeffers. We did mull over possibility of Jeffers not playing. What did you think when you saw the lineup?
I reiterate my comments from last week. I just wasn't surprised. Predictable. Absolutely predictable. So explain to me, he's banned for 1 game, right? Right. So it's not as though he's banned for 3 and Nobby's trying to sort of like experiment with some balance of play and some new personnel, etc. Okay, fine. Laughable. And I think that it would have been nice to have a little bit of humility from our manager in the post-match, just to say, you know what, I tried this, I got it absolutely wrong. But you know, God forbid that was to exist in a post-match interview from David Noble. What I would say is this: we got away with it. But look, you know, I thought the boys did really, really well. Even when we were 2-0 down, it wasn't great. But don't get me wrong, I thought there was still a little bit of impetus. One man in particular saved the blushes of the manager yesterday. Zane Banton, good to have him back. I actually spoke to Zane this afternoon very, very briefly. He's so excited to be back, but not as excited as we are to have him back. He was not even one. He was 1 move above everyone else. He was 2 moves above everyone else. They couldn't get anywhere near him. And what an absolute delight to behold him in full flow yet again in the yellow and blue of St Albans City.
Jake, I would think you would echo Lee's comments there about Shaun Jeffers' non-selection, which bamboozled all City supporters, I could see, before the game. But also taking those who did come in. Zane Banton, obviously, most people's man of the match, by the way. Sam Brown, Dan Bowery as well, and Ibia Canby. What do you think of their performances?
And I think we have to praise David Noble to some extent. To chuck Zane Banton in, I thought was actually a brave decision, a bold one, and it worked really well. So fair play to Noble. You know, if I was in his position, I certainly would have, just because of the risk of, you know, injuries returning. But yeah, the other changes. I mean, Sam Brown, I think he's been good lately. I thought we missed him on Boxing Day. It was good to see him back, and he certainly had an impact, didn't he, at the end? Dan Bowery, I was quite surprised to see him back in the team after, again, a long layoff, and I thought he was a little bit hit and miss. Of course, he got the assist for the second goal, but other areas didn't great. And then we come to, unfortunately, Ibia Canby, who thrown in, maybe you could say. I mean, he's not really had many minutes lately, has he? and he was thrown in a formation and a shape I just didn't think worked for him at all. And that first half from Ibby, and it feels harsh to blame him. I don't want him to be the scapegoat necessarily, but he really did struggle, didn't he? He just never got going. It never really worked. And the change at half time, taking him off, seemed like the logical one, didn't it? And it feels harsh saying that, but unfortunately, I think he's the real one that really stuck out in terms of not particularly working. And I don't think it's all on him, but it just didn't work for me.
I agree with you about Sam Brown. I thought he did well on his return to the side. He only missed one game, and it solidified us quite a bit. So it's good to see him back now. Dan Bowery playing on the right of midfield. Now that was a surprise. We used to see him in somewhere in the back four. He did an okay job. Got an early booking, which didn't help. It actually led to our second goal. But I thought he did a decent job down there. As you say, good cross for the goal. Nicely scooped in by some player who's already been mentioned a few times. We're going to come on to that in a minute. Did you have a view of the first goal? Hemel got two in the first 12 minutes. The first goal, George Williams, 4 minutes. I had a terrible view. I was down the other end of the pitch. I think you were still in with the City supporters up that end. A suspicion of offside from several people. What did you make of it?
Me? I think you probably got a better view than me.
I think from the players' reaction, even the Hemel's players' reaction, I think it was tight. I think is the answer. But we continue to play that high line, wanting to impose ourselves early, but we come unstuck. I mean, listen, it was a good finish. Even the free kick for their second goal was a really good finish. You can't take anything away from them in terms of that. But I think with so many new personnel coming into the side, it took us a while to settle. But, okay. We were 2-0 down, but I don't think we were playing particularly bad. Defensively, we looked a bit patchy, but I think going forward, we were still creating chances. So, but in terms of the first goal, Tabs, yeah, it was touch and go, mate. It did look tight, I have to say. But given the reaction of both sets of the players, the lino on that far side, he had plenty to sort of do, didn't he?
From the second goal, George Williams again. Was it a magnificent strike? Was the wall badly placed, or was the goalkeeper in the wrong position? Did you pick any of those? Either of them?
I mean, it took a deflection on the way through off the wall. I heard it. I always say second of all, actually, the free kick from where it was taken was actually a good 3-4 yards to the right of where the foul was actually committed. And it just changed the angle a little bit. I thought that it allowed the striker to then get a shot on target. But, I'll have to watch it back. But it wasn't McNamara's side. Maybe we're being harsh. Did take a touch off the wall. It just, I mean, when it did go in, though, it just felt like, oh, God, it's one of these days. This is not going to go well at all. This is really bad. And we talk about luck, and for that to go in at that point, the players' heads were down. Partington was really having a go at McNamara, and it all felt like, oh dear, this is all falling apart in front of our eyes as quickly as possible.
You both already mentioned, and we weren't actually playing that badly early on. In between the two goals, we did some nice moves, and once they got the second goal out of the way, what did they do the rest of the first half? Nothing. It was all us. We weren't banging on the door all the time, and Craig King hardly had a save to make. But we were getting in positions, and we needed a predator in the box. Unfortunately, we didn't have one. It wasn't all Ibby Canby's fault. He only really had one chance. Hemel defended superbly, and it kept him in the second half. They blocked so many balls we put into the box and so many shots. They did a great job that way, but they were on the back foot, and you were hoping it's just a case of them eventually leaking one. And they did. What a magnificent goal. I sent you my video of it, Jake, last night, and it's 10 passes on that. On the main video, probably showed a load more passes. Lovely movement in their half. That's the difference to what we were doing early in the season. It was in their half, so it was stretching them, and eventually opening came, and a lovely finish by Zane Banton.
Yeah, we spoke in the past, didn't we, about just it would be like a new player, and not even in our wildest dreams would we appreciate the impact he would have straight away in such a big game as well. Higher pressure environment, quite a hostile sort of crowd. But I mean, listen, the fellow is absolute class. And as you say, Tabs, the passing was always there. There was always movement around. Touching on Jake's point, if I may, very briefly about Canby, I think this goes back again to the fact that players are being played in a formation that doesn't suit the player's skill set. You know, it's irrespective of who is available to the manager, he's going to play in that formation. And it's just like a mend and make do sort of a mentality. You cast your mind back, fellas, 6, 7, maybe even 8 years ago now. Ian Allinson had a very similar problem with Sam Merson. Ian thought that he was very lightweight. He fleeted in and out of games far too much for an important striker. You know, didn't really seem interested at sort of times. But the thing is, Ian said he's undroppable in so much that he scores the goals. Out of nothing, he'll score goals. And although, you know, no one should play themselves into a side, or sorry, play themselves outside, the thing is, he was scoring so many goals. And for that 8-month period, he was a hot commodity. And whether or not Ian thought he unbalanced the side in terms of the formation, he still played him because he appreciated the effort and what he brought to the side. Scores goals, wins games. I think that is where we are now. I don't know whether it's something personal between Jeffers and Noble now, or whether Nobby, as I think you alluded to, Tavs, a few weeks ago, mate, is just being a bit stone-headed. And, you know, this is the way we're going to play, whether we like it or not. This is my way of playing. People are going to have to like it or lump it. But the thing is, there's only so much time, you know, you can sort of get away with that, because the thing is, going into the half, there was only one thing he had to do, and that was change it up front. And I do feel sorry for Ibi Akambi, but he's probably a good player with other good players around him playing in the right formation. And I think, scapegoat or not, I don't think he's good enough to play as a lone striker. But that's something now that he's going to have to sort of do come Saturday.
Yeah, as you say, he had to make way at halftime there for Shaun coming back. A question wasn't put in to Nobby in the post-match interview, why he dropped Shaun. You alluded earlier, was it because of his forthcoming suspension this Saturday? Well, Joe Parkinson and Ryan Blackman have both had one-match suspensions this season. They weren't dropped for the game prior to it. So why pick on your top goal scorer? It's totally illogical. Anyway, let's go into the second half now. Shaun's back in the starting lineup. We're all confident we're going to romp home with plenty to spare. How did you see that second half, Jake? Because we were still on top, but they had one or two more chances than they did in the first half. And Josh McMahon made a couple of decent saves second half.
He did, actually. There was one I was thinking about earlier. Was it 2-1? 2-1 potentially? He made a really good save. Might even be 2-2. Made a really good save down to his right that I think kept the score at an important time. I mean, you say they had some chances, but I have to say, being at that end with the City fans, it did feel like majority one-way traffic for a lot of that half. In terms of the ball, seemed to be mostly in our half. Hemel did have a few sort of, not breaks necessarily, but counter-attacks, not really at much speed, but where they got the ball forward and sort of seemed to create openings. But I thought a lot of it, we kept the ball really well again in that second half, probably aided by, actually, I thought, as much as I praise the Saints, I thought Hemel's approach confused me a little bit in terms of their desire to sort of sit back off the ball at times. And then, you know, a nice pitch, very slick 3G surface to pass the ball round. It almost worked to us, didn't it? And that second goal, the equaliser, it almost felt inevitable for the first 20 minutes of that second half, sorry. It was going to come. And it wasn't the most natural of finishes from Shaun Jeffers, it's fair to say. But it doesn't matter how they go in. They all matter. They all count. And for that majority of that half, it just felt like this is going to be this way. And it all comes from the momentum, of course, Zane's goal, but Shaun Jeffers being on the pitch. You feel that urge, or that surge, sorry, that comes in the players and also the supporters when he comes on at half time. And, you know, those Hemel players probably coming out after the interval thinking, right, we're settled down here now, we've got a goal lead, and they see Shaun Jeffers coming on, they think, right, this is going to be difficult this half. And it did prove to be that.
Yeah, lovely goal. Backheel by Joe Rasulu. He tried several others that didn't come off. That one did. Put Bowery down the right. Cross in. And I'm going to touch on here something David Willesey said. He was at the game. First time he's seen City this season. His knowledge of football is fantastic. And he said it's ironic when you hear what I have to say, because he said Shaun's movement is brilliant. He's just watching him. He's just a natural mover as a striker. And bearing in mind, he couldn't get in the team, supposedly, the end of last season, early this year, because he doesn't run around enough. No, he does the right move that a striker should do and gets goals. Um, and it's funny he picked up on that. So Shaun's out there beautifully based, and if you watch it, he's got space. He's drifted away from defenders. How you can leave a player like Shaun Jeffers unmarked in the 6-yard box? God knows. Josh Hill has to watch the ball go past him, slightly behind him. Shaun hooks it in. Lovely goal. Lovely finish. What about the penalty appeal? He had an appeal for a penalty when he was supposedly brought down by, was it Chris Smith? I watched it back on my little video, and I think the referee, having taken a lot of stick, probably got it right again, just like the one last week for Gio Rasulu. What was your view on it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see too much in it. I don't know about you, Jake. Just backtracking slightly, if I may. You speak about one of our players being unmarked 6 yards out. You spoke about Gio there. He had a glorious chance in the second half. Unmarked, free header, 6 yards out. Thankfully, it didn't cost us. But you think of a player of his ability, and he's got a bit of a raw deal over the last few weeks. And I don't think yesterday was his worst game by any stretch. He contributed magnificently to the whole cause, and he got evolved. But I think, if you're thinking about wasteful chances, that was a glorious one. And thankfully, it didn't cost us. But you talk about the quality of Shaun Jeffers being in the right place, the right time, the movement, the position. That is the thing that money can't buy half the time, and it's that just knowledge of how to be in the right place at the right time. Amazing chance. But in terms of the penalty tags, I don't think there's much in it, mate, to be fair.
No, fair enough. Can you remember it, Jake?
I honestly, I didn't think there was much in it. I don't even remember appealing for it, to be honest.
Good.
So I don't think there was
All
really
right.
much in there. And I mean, we've watched the Rasulo one back from last week, and I think we probably think now Rasulo probably did go down a bit easily, didn't we? But the one yesterday, I don't think that was a big complaint.
We weren't standing next to Tim Petty. My ears were ringing for 2 hours. I sent him my video.
I don't know what you're
later
doing,
on,
mate.
And he backtracked.
You suffer every single. I don't know what you're doing, mate. Seriously, go and stand somewhere else. Hi, Tim.
Yeah. Right. Well, that takes us on to the third goal. There we are, going 2nd minute of injury time. Hemel would have taken a point by then, having already beaten us at Clarence Park. We had to settle for a point, even from 2-0 up. But there we are. We get a corner. The first two we had in the first half, we did stupid short corners down the line. Great, we got some passes. Did we get a threat on goal? No. This one, people standing behind Rasulu saying, "Get it in there," and he did. He put it in the box. And if a team doesn't defend it, you've got a chance. Dan Brown? Should we go for Sam Brown? 2 shots. First one was over the line. Referee linesman couldn't be bothered to give it. Second one went even further over the line. He thought, I better give that one. But he's not the player you expect to be up there doing this, is he?
Not at all. But I have to say, watching it back both on your video and also the video the club posted earlier today or whenever it was the goal, he comes from so far out as well. I mean, he's right on the edge of the box, isn't he? And he covers so much distance to get to that ball and hit that first time strike, which was brilliant enough, and so many miles over the line that is unbelievable. And then that second strike, to actually have the composure and the desire to react like he did to get that ball and finish it again like he did. Maybe we should play Sam Brown up front against Farnborough without Shaun Jeffers there. 2 brilliant finishes, it has to be said. And you talk about getting the ball into the box. Last few weeks, we've almost realised, not because, but we probably knew it, but we never got the chance to see it. Gio Rasulo's got quite a decent corner delivery on him, hasn't he? Gets that ball into a dangerous position. Saw it at Dartford, Michael Clarke's goal, and get it in there, and it actually causes all sort of trouble. I mean, who did the ball fall towards before Brown put it home? I mean, whoever it was for us was getting dragged down pretty much by the Hemel player straight away. We've seen Rasulo get the ball in, bit of good delivery, and it causes chaos. How many times have teams done that against us over the last couple of years? It's actually nice to see us actually causing trouble with set pieces now.
Clarke went for the ball at the near post. He got beaten to it, I think, by Josh Hill. Then, as you say, Joe Parkinson was going to stick it away, but he had his arm pulled and lost his balance. It came to Shaun. His shot was blocked. I think it was Jay. And it's so nice when it went from that player in particular out to Sam Brown for him to drive it home. I mean, almost every City player got a touch on it in the end.
Just a little nod as well for Clarkey. I think since he's come back from injury, he's been absolutely outstanding. And that partnership he's forged with Parton in the middle of the defence has been absolutely key to our progress. I think in the past, Clarkey's been, he'll have one good game, maybe two bad or whatever. But now he's got that consistency and he's been sorely missed. And you can see the reason why. There's a reason why our upturning form, but not only in terms of form, but defensive performances as well. Absolutely fantastic. And hopefully, if he can stay fit, and it is a big if, he's going to be absolutely instrumental to our surge up that league.
What have we learned from this game? Well, Shaun Jeffers. I think we already knew about Shaun, funny enough. he has got to be the centre of our attack. No two ways about it. He's going to have off days and you will have to drop him occasionally. It happens to every striker, but not for 6 months at a time or whatever we were doing. Third successive game, we scored with a corner into the box. Do you think the penny has dropped on the bench?
Well, I don't know, Jake. I mean, come on, buddy. I mean, it's the people that come up to us and the discussions in the pubs, discussions on the terraces, even, God forbid, the discussions from people who work on behalf of the club. They don't understand it either. So you'd hopefully, over the course of time, there's only so many occasions when Shaun Jeffers can get him out of the mire. There's just there's no rhyme or reason to it, fellas. So I think it's got to stop.
I think, yesterday, Lee, we certainly weren't the only fans confused, were we, behind the goal, especially during the first half. But I think what really threw me was also Mitch Weiss being unavailable for selection to start with. And that's fine. Fatigue. He's come back from that illness that kept him out for a little while. I think that's totally understandable. But if Mitch can't play, why then dropping Shaun as well? Probably your two most dangerous players this season. To do that just doesn't make any sense at all. And I thought watching Shaun during that first half, before we scored 2-0 down, I think, when Ibby sort of sent one a bit wide, you could tell how frustrated Shaun was at being stuck on that bench. You could tell he wanted to get on that pitch as soon as possible, and thankfully it worked. But yeah, I thought for me that team selection didn't work. But then on the counterpoint, Zane Banton comes back into the team and has an absolute blinder. So it's all to and froing, isn't it? But again, Shaun Jeffers has proven yesterday, one goal, great. But what he did off the ball at times and even on the ball, dropping deep, winning headers, winning the ball, winning free kicks, etc., backing in, laying the ball off. All of it worked brilliantly in that second half. And it's no coincidence that it was when he was on the pitch.
He set a new record yesterday. He set a few in his time with us. That was his 72nd league goal for us in National League South, which takes him above Lee Clarke's total of 71 in National League South and National League. So he is now our top scorer in all National League football. So congratulations, Shaun. And may there be more to come. And his next game, whatever that may be, could be Hitchin Town, Senior Cup next Tuesday, will be his 150th for the club. So, yes, well done, Shaun.
I know we laugh about the Shaun Jeffers situation at times, but when you compare that to
no one's laughing, pal.
Well, yeah, you think back now how much Saints fans of a certain vintage, including ourselves, talk about Lee Clarke, etc., those sort of players, and how good Clarkey was. I mean, it's amazing, really, isn't it, that what Shaun has done in terms of goal scoring and appearances, and how he's and how he's fought this season to get back into that team somehow. And in 10 years' time, probably not on this podcast. Hopefully, we won't be doing it in 10 years' time. Good God. We'll be talking about Shaun Jeffers as that man and what he had as an impact at this club.
Well, his 149 games is all competitions, not just the league, and his goal tally in all competitions is 85, which, we could have done it, but, well done. That's pretty good going. Right, anybody else you want to single out from yesterday in particular?
All the lads did superbly well. They really did.
Excellent. Right, I've got an email here. We put a request out this morning for any emails, and we've been flooded with 3. You wouldn't believe it. Wow. One's from Fred here, first of all. An enjoyable game, mainly from the way we played, as well as the result, which is so true. Thought the first goal was offside. Not surprised it was not given, as it was the same lino who couldn't see the ball cross the line for the third goal. Thought Bowery had a good game, and Hutchinson as well until he faded in the latter part. Definitely a penalty. Jeffers' heels were clipped, that's for sure. Banton man of the match by a mile. Good to see him back in such good form. Right, another one which you both can go for on this one. From Tim in Watford, not the one in Harmden, don't worry. No expletives to cross out here. It's a response, really, something David Noble said about the league being so much tougher this season and in previous seasons. Tim doesn't think it is. What do you two think from what you've seen?
It's certainly tougher when you don't pick your best players. Well, that's the way it goes, really. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, to be fair, I think we're making it tough on ourselves at times. Excuse me. There are a couple. I think this is probably similar to a few seasons back, where you get one or two. You get a runaway team, and then you get sort of two or three sort of teams that are there or thereabouts. Everyone else, I mean, to be fair, we harp about it every single week. 1 minute we're 3 points off of the playoffs, one defeat. Next thing we're 4 points off of going down, and it's tight. So I think there's a lot of shit down there. But to be honest with you, I don't think it's particularly harder than any other year. I just think it's the fact that we're just bringing it upon ourselves half the sort of time. And the thing is, everyone's competing, and it doesn't take a lot, does it? I don't think there's any. It's mediocrity above the board. The big spenders, the cream will always rise to the top more often than they're not. Take away Haven, who have just absolutely capitulated, although they won yesterday. I don't know. I mean, Jake, we sort of spoke about this because we sort of look at the next 2 or 3 games in advance, saying, right, if we got to win today because we've got, Torquay in a week's time or whatever, that's how we look at it. But I wouldn't say it's head and shoulders above anything else.
No, for me, it's the Oval and then probably Hampton. Hampton on a great run at the moment.
Yeah.
But apart from them two, I don't think the league's particularly that much stronger this season, if it is at all. I think what is notable is actually, I think a lot of teams are actually more inconsistent this season. I think there's a lot of teams that are sort of dropping results here and there. Apart from, the bottom 4, there's a bit of a gap now there. But otherwise, I don't think it's particularly a stronger league this season. And I think you can see that in most weeks. We haven't exactly been smashed in any particular games, have we? Apart from Braintree away. And then that's considering how much, we've not been particularly happy with the Saints' performance for a lot of the season, have we? So I don't think it's a particularly strong league.
It's funny, you look at Hemel Hempstead last week down at Clarence Park, and you think, crikey, they're mid-table. They look really good that day. Well, we helped them by being so defensive. And I think we said last week, they can't play like that every week. It must be a one-off. And I think we saw a truer side of Hemel yesterday, where we comfortably controlled that game. We left it late for the winner, but we were in comfortable control. And I think that was a one-off their performance last week. They'll do another one-off later in the season, maybe. But generally, they're going to be a mid-table side. Make no bones about that. They prove us wrong. We'll admit it later on. As for a standard overall, when we went to the Oval, we weren't that impressed with them, but they were still, I think, coming together then. And Torquay down the park, they were just happy to shut us out because we were so negative at the time. They were happy to just keep us at a distance. Hampton we haven't seen, but it is a great run they're on. And standard overall, I agree with you both. It hasn't really stood out as being anything above previous seasons at the moment. We shall see. Right, another one. Lee Clarke, who was head chief scout earlier this season, resigned. He's returned to the club. And it was probably somebody sent a message in saying, now we've got a head of scouting again. Which players would you replace in your first 11 when everyone's fit? And there's any players we've seen you'd like to sign?
I actually noticed that myself because he put a post on LinkedIn, I think yesterday or the day before. He left because he had work commitments, and now that seems to have sort of lightened up a little bit. So he's now returning back in the fold as chief scout at Clarence Park. I'm hoping that does that means there'll be some key additions. I think, bizarre as it may sound, because Nobby does like to play the 3 at the back sometimes, another quality centre-half, I think maybe that could be the way forward. And I don't know, Jake. You are a massive supporter of Kieran Wiltshire. You know, you are banging that drum week in and week out. Maybe someone in that mould, if not him himself, once he's fit. So maybe that's an option there for you, mate.
Yeah, you've read my mind. I was going to say, I think we need someone or something in midfield, even if it's just a bit of cover for now. Because again, we've seen Ryan Blackman. Sounds like he won't be back for a few weeks, from what we understand. I think if that anything like that ever happens, with Ryan likes a yellow card as well. You need a bit of cover in there. We saw last week that Ben and George Huddle can't, do it every week. Can they do that defensive job? So I think I'd like to see a bit of cover there, especially after Harvest went either on loan or a permanent, or if Kyron's available. But of course, we don't have any updates on how Kyron is.
Funny enough, a player I'd like to have a look at is again a midfielder. We haven't seen him yet this season. We'll see him Saturday, although he actually got sent off yesterday for Farnborough, Aaron Cole. We saw him play for Slough Town last season, and he looked terrific over at not the Dolphin, wherever it is they play these days. And so it'd be interesting to see him Saturday, because he's an attack-minded midfielder. He just opened sides up from what we saw that day, and it'd be interesting to see if he does it again Saturday. But of course, now our scouting system's all sorted out, we'll be able to shut him down. He won't be able to perform. Elsewhere in the squad, I don't know. It's too big an issue.
I'm shocked. Taz, I'm shocked you've not mentioned getting Glenn McConnell back. I mean, we've not mentioned him. We've not mentioned him in a good few weeks, mate. I mean, you're losing your touch. Are you no longer his agent? Do you not get a commission for this or what?
It's not a phrase a name I'm familiar with, Lee.
Really?
You have to refresh me. Yes.
Jeez. Yeah. Okay, well, good fella. Good player. You'd like him.
Well, actually, it's actually hidden in here. I've got enough room for 2 or 3 players to get in here.
Oh, dear.
Right, okay. That's about all done and dusted. As we mentioned, Farnborough on Saturday. We went to Cherrywood Road early in the season, played absolutely abysmally. We had Joe Partington in our ranks. It wasn't a happy return to him for his old club. But they haven't been doing badly. They got to the fringes of the playoff places and then got stuffed 4-2 at home by having at Waterlooville on New Year's Day, surprisingly. We got to show them we're better than what we were down at their place, haven't we, really? But how are we going to do it? Mitchell Weiss will be fit for selection. He's going to come straight back in. No two ways about that, because nobody picks the right forwards. We know that. But will it be a Canby have to start again?
I think, yeah, go on.
I mean, I was going to say, for me, probably, but then I would be tempted to have Mitch up front with Zane, actually, myself. Either behind Mitch or just alongside him. And as much as I'd like to give Ibby another chance, I think Zane is so high in confidence. And Mitch, I mean, the exciting thing about Mitch, he may have been fatigued, but, a nice, fresh, exciting Mitch on Saturday could cause real problems for Farnborough. So that could work really well. But then if we do play Ibby, I think it's got to be alongside another forward like Mitch. If we do play Ibby, can't be alongside Banton again, or Banton behind him. I don't think that's going to work.
Right, fair enough. Ryan might be fit by the sound of it. As I think I said earlier, he's more hopeful for next Tuesday. Do you want to do some predictions for Farnborough? Go on then, Jake.
Oh God. 3-1 Saints, I guess. That's on the proviso that we don't have any more injuries or any changes. I mean, there's not much more we can change with the team, really, can you, after a win like that? Apart from probably the forward area. Lee, is there anything you'd change in the team? I don't know.
Definitely drop Shaun Jeffers. Get him out. No good. I'm going to go 4-1 Saints. Tavs, lock it in. Bosh. Stop the count. 4-1.
Oh, my God.
I know.
What can you say? Yeah. Well, we can't have a clean sweep of wins, so I'll have to go the other way a bit. I won't give Farnborough a win. We go back to what we had in about 1981. Great game, 2-2 draw.
1981?
Yeah. Farnborough Town they were those days. Farnborough Town, you won't remember.
Oh, my God.
Right, next Tuesday, we've mentioned it a couple of times, Hearts Senior Cup, Hitchin Town at Clarence Park. Hopefully it'll be a £6.50 admission fee, back to that. I know they haven't announced it yet. Hitchin will want revenge for a Charity Cup defeat.
Revenge.
It's been eating away at them, Lee. You wouldn't believe it. The message board's full of it.
So hold on. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday the Senior Cup,
Yes.
and
Try
the
and
last game was
keep
a
up,
charity
Jake.
cup.
Yeah.
I've only just realised this is two different competitions. Genuinely, I had no idea. I thought I hadn't when I saw it. When I saw it earlier today, it hadn't processed in my mind that we'd actually really beaten Hitchin in a cup competition this season.
You're getting started, Jacob. You're getting started on local cup competitions, mate.
Oh God, we
Here
could
he
win
goes.
2 this season. Oh my God.
Yeah. What do you mean could? We will. Will. Not could. Will.
There he goes. There he
Right.
goes.
Prediction then. Hitchin Town.
3.
Depends what side we put out, of course.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot to sort of choose from, is there really? 3-0 Saints.
Oh, I'll go 2-1 Saints, and I think again this game is a cheap admission, £66.50 adults. I think again
£16.50.
No, not 16.
It's a Freudian slip.
6. Oh dear.
Jake, have they announced it then? I haven't seen
I
it
think
yet.
I saw it in I saw it in an email. I think earlier today that the club sends out. So as long as I didn't read it incorrectly.
You're obviously on the inside, and they email you first, don't they? Obviously.
I don't know. It's just because you don't know how emails work. You're still waiting for the pigeon, the carrier pigeon from Clarence Park.
That's his technophobe. Oh, outrageous.
Right, we're concentrating on promotion now, so I'll go for a 2-1 defeat. Right, one thing we could have touched on last week, we saved it until this week. Sadly, news came through Tuesday before Christmas of the death of City stalwart Jeff Brown. You probably worked with him more than I did, Lee. He was an affable old man, wasn't he? He put so much into the club after retirement, and he was so great. All the physical jobs he could do. Well, I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered it there, Tavs. I mean, I was very, very fortunate to work alongside Jeff for years down at Clarence Park. And I think, you hear these stories about, non-league and what it means to the community and the people behind the scenes, and they don't really get the full credit. Jeff is the epitome of that. I mean, this is the fella, the sort of the retractable sliding tunnel. He built that out of scratch. He's basically rebuilt half the stand. He was always there. He was always there doing positive things. There are too many people behind the scenes who are trying to just claim glory for something, just getting their feet under the table. That was never Jeff's mantra. That was never Jeff's drive. He just wanted to do the utmost best for the football club. And not only his physical application, but financial as well. He was always the first one to put a few quid in to stand by your Saints. He was always the first one to put a few quid in behind the coffers for the supporters' trust. But without grandeur, without fun, without fanfare. He was just the embodiment of the real core values of what St Albans City used to stand for. And it was a real pleasure to be in his presence more often than not. And he will be an undoubted miss, because I think once you lose someone of that calibre and that ilk and that standing, you don't really appreciate what they've done. And so, who's going to fix the floodlights? Who's going to rewire the circuit board? Who's going to clean the kit? Who's going to sweep the chest rooms? Who's going to serve the tea? Who's going to greet the opposition off of the team coach? All those little tiny, tiny things, they all add up to one amazing person who had the very best interest of this club at his heart.
I would imagine your contact with him, Jake, wasn't as substantial as Lee's. You probably knew him quite well from when we used to sit in the press area and watching him manning the tunnel, pulling the cage in and out.
Yeah, absolutely. He was I think Lee's covered it perfectly. Him and Rex, the dynamic duo, particularly. I mean, it has to be said, Jeff, even in his later years, up until just before COVID, he was always on the coach to away games with Rex, the two of them, helping out with the team kit, etc., doing odd jobs, even, however old Jeff was at the time, absolutely brilliant. And as Lee said, he didn't care about the glory, or anything at all. He just wanted it because he wanted to help out the club and he loved the football club. And he was an extremely popular figure. And I think you saw it on social media the comments from Saint supporters, many of whom have been going for many years, and the great stories and the love for Jeff that there was, and I think the upset that there was that to hear about his passing. So he will be massively missed, and it is a shame that the football club is losing these figures, because I know, some people think we're a special and amazing football club, these great crowds, great thing. We're still a non-league football club. We're in the Conference South. We wouldn't be anything without volunteers, and those volunteers like Jeff have helped get this club through some. It may seem like the club's well run now, but we've had some very difficult times in the not so distant past as a football club that many of us still remember. And people like Jeff have helped us through it, and he will be sorely missed, I think, by everyone at Clarence Park.
Well, no one knocks back burgers in southern England football grounds like Rex and Jeff did. They were phenomenal at it. And in the boardroom, in the tea bar, they'd be first in the queue. And but they deserved it for the work and time they put into the club. It was all good stuff. Good company. Thanks for all you did, Jeff, really.
Absolutely.
Right, okay. Anything else to touch on, or are we done for our first show of 2024?
I suppose another departure we have to mention after Andy Hipperley the other week is the other half of the media team has also left Clarence Park. Will Tyra. I know, Dave, you had a fair bit of interaction with Will, and it's a shame to see him go as well after Andy's departure so soon, and both of them winning awards for the club. Just back in November, wasn't it? So I think both of them. I think what we'll say probably about Will is probably echo what we said about Andy a few weeks ago. Will had a good impact on the club. He did a lot for the club, and it's a shame to see him leave at a time that I don't think. I think it was hoped that they'd be here a bit longer than they were.
Yeah, the two of them full timers. First time we'd had paid staff in the media position, and us three worked in it in the past, and it was a totally different sort of media to what we were charged with doing, if you like, which was just getting information out to supporters. Really, they were totally different, and they took it onto a new level, and they did it successfully. We've got to thank them and wish them well in their new adventures.
Very much so.
Yeah. Right, we are done and dusted.
Oh, look at that. Oh, call that efficient,
Seamless.
Dave?
Seamless, faultless. Tav, you've not given us any decent stats, mate. Come on, you must have one sort of floating around there. In that game in 1981 against Farnborough, how many corners were there from the left-hand side of the pitch?
Hey, we're all taken inside the arc. None of us sticking it outside kind of cheap, and I know. Well, we've got Shaun Jeffers, top goal scorer in National League for us. That'd do, wouldn't it? The biggest attendance for a City match at Vauxhall Road.
Very good.
I'll dig some more out and send them to you later. Lee said, "Help you sleep." There you go.
Talking of the attendance, I suppose we should say well done to all those Saints fans that made the trip on New Year's Day, despite the disaster that was Boxing Day. Great support from everyone, and enjoyable celebrations at the end. Maybe not quite on the same level as Hemel's on Boxing Day. When they thought, I think they thought they'd won the Premier League, hadn't they? The way they celebrated, and they're on their YouTube. They got a 14-minute video just about Boxing Day. So unlucky lads. We'll see you next year, I guess. But yeah, brilliant support for everyone. And if you want to get in contact, it's Podful of Saints on Twitter. Email below. Dave, Lee, anything else you'd like to add before we finish the first one of 2024?
Well, our celebrations at the end, they were respectable to the showed respect to the home fans. They didn't go over the top. They were more mature, shall we say? There you go.
On that note.
Right, I'll see you boys at Clarence Park. Kick down, support the lads. It's going to be a great one. Come on, you Saints.
We will see you very soon. Come on, you Saints. Bye-bye.